Okay. I was asked to give a presentation on marketing nut products. I do farmers markets. I sell a lot of honey. I do have a half acre of blackberries. And I have also cracked nuts, black walnuts, and hickories and sold them at the farmers market. So my marketing the talk is mainly going to be geared towards the farmers market aspects. In selling, marketing, they say, you're not selling the steak, you're selling the sizzle too. And so you have to try to find ways of selling the sizzle and not just the nut products to really reach the people. My talk is going to be broke down into some tips on selling, pros and cons of farmers markets, and what I think our biggest potential way of marketing is. A little background on farmers markets. People do not go to farmers markets anymore to buy food. That sounds strange, but that's not their motivation for going. They can go to Walmart and get food. So why are they going to buy products from you? One of the things is perceived higher quality. It's fresher, normally fewer chemicals is used on locally produced stuff. More environmentally friendly. The stuff at Walmart's been trucked 1,800 miles. I do a farmer's market, the average distance is less than 50 miles that the food travels to the market. The farm to fork relationship, people want to know where their food's produced. That is huge right now. And people also come to farmers markets for the experience. It's a social outlet. They go there to meet people, talk, just mingle and hang out. When you're marketing at a farmer's market, you have to remember, who is your target customer? And there was a 2005 study on over 350 farmers markets, and they found 80% of your sales was from people who made over $40,000 a year. Your low-income shoppers made up less than 5% of your sales. They simply can't afford the higher quality products. That was 17 years ago. I'm sure the numbers are adjusted higher. An easier way to think about it, your ideal customer is a college-educated woman between 25 and 60 years old. And 3/4 of them will be raising a family. It's said that guys like things, women like people. So they learn through relationships rather than at the farmer's market. If I have a nutcracker set up, I have seen guys run across the parking lot wanting to know what I was doing. The women aren't as interested in that. But, so you have to cater to that. I can tell them other things. In 1840, there was a slave in Louisiana named Antoine. And he is the one who figured out how to graft pecans so that you could grow the same variety. And the variety he grafted ended up later being named the Centennial Pecan. And because of him, we have an entire pecan industry. Women may not pay attention to anything else I say, but they're going to remember that slave Antoine because they can relate to that. It creates a relationship. At the farmer's market I do, there's another guy that sells honey, both high quality honeys. His is $1 cheaper. I take an observation hive. Shows, the people can see the bees, the queen, the honey, stuff like that. There's a little girl that's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. She's real shy, always hides behind her mom, but she always comes running up to that observation hive to find the queen every single week, and then she hides behind her mom. Her mom buys honey from me. Why doesn't she buy from the other guy? It's the experience. She gets the experience from me. For her, it's worth it to pay an extra $1. Now, about 80% of people are object-oriented, and 20% are idea-oriented. The idea-oriented people, we're going to be interested in the different varieties, the things, the grafting process. The object-oriented people, they want to know what something looks like, what it feels like. Their senses, they're drawn to that. I have people come up to the observation hive and they're trying to listen to the bees buzz. You know, they'll smell the hive. You know, they're really focused on the senses. I'm not a great salesman, and I'll tell people that. So what I do to compensate, I bring an observation hive. It stops kids of every age. I give them a free sample of honey, and the honey sells itself. I also sell blackberries. You put them out there where people can see the nice big berry, the berries sell themselves. I've got berry plants outside for sale. If you see, I've got a nice big picture of the berries that they produce. That picture is going to sell the berry plants, not the berry plants aren't going to sell themselves. That's the sizzle that you want to be marketing. Some more selling tips. You want to exceed the customer's expectations. What experience can you give them that they weren't expecting? You know, I wear a hat all the time. People don't know what a nut grower or a beekeeper looks like. You guys can dress however you want. If you want to sell baked products, get one of the big chef's hats or a baking apron. Wear it every week. It starts to brand yourself and be a trademark. People will recognize you for that. Another key thing to remember, people eat with their eyes first. You want to have a good-looking product, a good-looking display. You are also a reflection of the product that you are selling. Dress up a little bit. Wear a shirt with a collar. I have seen people go to farmers markets looking like they just came in from doing chores in the barn. And I am sure they just came from doing chores in the barn because they've got big rubber muck boots on with crap and straw on them, you know, dirty holes in their clothes. People are going to judge you on that. You know, try to dress up a little bit. Women at farmers markets and craft shows, almost all of them that are selling are wearing tight jeans or yoga pants. They're selling the sizzle. Another key thing, you have to give samples. That's an experience people can get. They're not going to get at Walmart. I do honey on crackers. You know, anything you sell, have samples. If you notice on the tables, there's little bags of cookies. I had a lady bake up. Those are hickory nut and black walnut cookies. Taste them. Exceed the customer's expectations. You guys weren't expecting to get free samples of cookies. You just thought you was going to hear a talk. Stores have done a lot of surveys, and they say 75% of their sales are for items between your elbow and your shoulder, right in front of your face. The stuff on the bottom shelf is stuff that doesn't sell as good or real high. I have seen people at farmers markets take the 2-inch PVC pipe and cut legs like that and put them under their table legs so the table is chest high right in front of the customer's face. Another important thing to wear is a smile. If you come with a bad attitude, people aren't going to want to buy from you. You know, be friendly, smile, say hello, good morning to people. Don't be cussing. You know, talk to it like you would in church. Don't sit down. Stand up when you're marketing. If you are sitting down, people are going to be reluctant to come up to you because they think that they're going to be an inconvenience or a burden. Plus, if you're sitting down and they're standing up, they're at a higher plane than you are, and they're in a position of authority. You want an equal playing field, you want to be level, or you want to be higher than them. Always try to engage with your customers, connect with them, make eye contact. Don't wear sunglasses. People want to be able to see your eyes. We communicate a lot with that. Make your prices easy to see. People don't want to ask, you know, how much does something cost? If people have to ask you the same question, more people more than once or very often, it means you don't have good enough signage. If you're selling nut products, you want to get the nut fragments out, the shell fragments. You don't want people chipping their teeth. Something I do when I shell the nuts, I put them in a big gallon bag, and then I shake them. All the real fine nuts and the nut shells go to the bottom. And then I scoop the nuts off the top to fill other bags to sell. That's like the shaker tables that the commercial processing centers use. Make sure you give customers what they like rather than what you want to sell. And that's a real hard thing for people starting out, is they say, oh, I want to make this product and sell it. If nobody likes it, you're wasting your time. You're there to make the customer happy. At farmers markets, you have to educate your customers. Most people at the farmers markets have never tasted a hickory nut. Very few have ever tasted a black walnut. So you have to teach them what they taste like. Give them samples. A nutcracker is a great way to engage people. Little kids love to crack nuts. But they can taste the nut that way, see the process of what all is involved in shelling the nuts. Now, there are pros and cons of farmers markets. One of the pros is they're everywhere. Every town has a farmers market. You have a customer base that is eager to try new or unusual foods. They're willing to pay a premium price, which is important. It's the more affluent shopper that you have there. Shelled nuts, baked goods fall under Ohio's cottage food regulations, which are fairly low. You can make them at home. You have to have your name on it, a list of ingredients, your address, and you have to write on it, this product is home produced. If you're selling bags of nuts by weight, if you take a scale to the farmer's market, it has to be tested for accuracy by the auditor. If you fill your bags at home and take them there, they don't care about your scale. So fill your bags at home, stick it, say it's a half pound or whatever. A lot of customers want to use a credit card. With the phones and phone apps like the Square app, anybody can run a credit card. You can take that money. You're not just relying on cash anymore. There are cons of farmers markets. The farmers market I do in Columbus is $680 a year just for a booth fee. Plus I have to pay $275 for farmers market insurance. So right off the bat, you're at $1,000. You're looking at 5 to 6 hours every single Saturday. By the time you load your vehicle, drive there, set up, sell for 3 hours, pack everything up and go home, you've killed a day. You have to have a tent, a table, your bag weights, a tablecloth. It's just other added expenses. Farmers markets will also expect you to bring enough product that you don't sell out. It takes about 4 hours to shell a pound of hickory nuts. If you can sell 5 or 10 pounds at a farmer's market, how many hours that week did you have to shell nuts? You're spending all your time shelling nuts. You also have to educate the customers about the product you're selling, because they don't know what a hickory nut cookie tastes like. The biggest market that I know of for shelled hickory nuts is eBay. And from what I can tell, there's about 1,500 pounds a year get sold on eBay at about $40 a pound. That's a $60,000 market cap. That's tiny. Hammond's, that buys the black walnuts, normally does about $12 million a year in revenue. Chestnuts, globally it's $4 billion, but the U.S. does 1%, about 40 million. Americans eat 7.5 million pounds of chestnuts a year, and we import 7 million. In a 2005 study from the University of Missouri Center for Agroforestry, they talked to chestnut farmers to see where they sold at. And some farmers sold at multiple areas. 38% sold on farm. 34% sold at farmers markets. 23% would also sell to restaurants. Less than 20% sold in stores. They simply don't have enough production to meet all the demand, so they haven't started going that aspect. There is virtually no value-added work in chestnuts simply because they can't satisfy the fresh demand. I know the Route 9 Co-op is starting to get into chestnut flour, so they are starting to get into a little bit of value-added products. Now, if you want to look at pecans, in 2019, it was a $469 million crop. Retail, that was $1.7 billion. The hickory nuts is still back at 60,000. Almonds in 2014 was up to $21.5 billion, but of that, $11 billion was value-added products, where they used those almonds in something else, whether it was almond milk or whatever. The farmers market I do in Columbus did a survey, I think it was in 17 or 18, and about half of the vendors responded to it, asking what their average weekly sales were. And of the vendors that responded, the average was $900 a week in sales. A couple years before that, it was $700 a week in sales. But over a season, that's $25,000 a vendor, is what the market is. That's a $1.5 million market. But hickory nuts on eBay is 60,000 market capacity. So in my opinion, if you want to sell shelled nuts, if you already sell a product at a farmer's market, it's great to add nuts to it. If you're just planning on going to a farmer's market and selling nuts, you're going to have a hard time shelling enough to sell to recoup all the costs of selling at the market. If you want to sell baked goods, a farmer's market may be worthwhile. Now, the farmer's market I sell at, I have talked to them. If you guys want to shell out nuts, they will allow me to sell them for them. It'll be a split booth where my tent will be shared with the Ohio nut growers, and I can sell any product from the nut growers. If you guys want me to do that, I'm open to that. This moves on to what I think our best marketing opportunity is for nuts, and that is value-added products. Baked goods are really popular at farmers markets. It's easy to give samples. You don't have to shell out near as many nuts to make some cookies. Lower income markets generally want prepared foods. They don't want to buy foods from scratch. You get your higher income, higher educated people, they're more willing to buy, cook from scratch. They'll buy the shelled nuts and bake something. But everybody likes cookies or a pie. People aren't going to come to a farmer's market to buy nuts. It's going to be an impulse purchase. So give them a free sample and trigger that impulse. I'll give you an example. You came expecting a meeting. There's bags of nuts. Try some nut cookies. The lady from the farmer's market that baked these cookies, she would also be interested in buying shelled nuts if you guys have extra nuts you want to sell, and she will bake goods. Or something you guys can do is just find a local farmer's market, find a baker, and say, hey, will you buy my nuts and bake stuff? Let them sell the products. That way they can, whatever cookies or baked goods they're already selling, the nuts will just be an extra product for them, and it'll be they don't need as many nuts every week to meet the market demand. It'll be easier for you. You can shell nuts all winter, but you're not shelling every single day all summer too. So, you can also sell on eBay. eBay's going to take 15% of the cut, eBay and PayPal. I haven't tried selling on Craigslist. You could always try that. So that pretty much sums up the talk. Do you guys have any questions?
On eBay and Craigslist and all that, there's those new requirements under the new administration where they're gonna issue you K-1 for any sales over $600. Do you know any more about that?
I haven't sold on eBay in a couple of years.
All right.
I used to sell some stuff and I was making, 15 to 20 bucks an hour. I can make more than that at a regular job.
All right, I'm just bringing that up, so, if you go on that, you may have to realize there's some tax consequences potentially there.
On another popular site is Facebook Marketplace now. And more popular than
The Facebook Marketplace may be
Facebook.
another way of marketing. Yes.
Has anybody ever looked into pick your own nut farms, either hazels or chestnuts or anything, or they're just impossible?
Bob Staley is a board member here. He had another appointment. He had to leave early. I know he has over 140 acres of chestnuts. It's just on his own property and 2 more farms that he leases on long-term leases. And he does pick your own on chestnuts.
Yeah, and he sells out in 2 days.
Yeah.
No tree destruction, people getting burrs in their fingernails
No.
or
Now,
problems?
Ohio just passed an agri-tourism law back in 2018. If you invite members of the public onto your property and you post a sign, for any risk inherent in the activity, if they get hurt, you're not liable. If they slip, trip, fall, poke their hand on a chestnut burr, you're not liable. If you have a vicious dog and it bites somebody, you can get in trouble. You're liable for that. If you injure a participant, you can get in trouble. If they've got little kids that are absolute hellions, you're not allowed spanking them. As tempting as it may be, you're not allowed doing that. So, for pick your own stuff, that is a bonus. I've got a ½ acre of blackberries. I don't do a pick your own operation. I had looked into it and everybody I talked to said the problem with pick your own, at least for blackberries, is that grandma comes out with the grandkids. They want to pick for 15 minutes. They pick 2 pints. They've had the experience, and then they want to buy a flat of berries that you already picked so that they can make jam or jelly out of. And for me, if I'm going to pay people to pick the berries, I'm going to take them to a farmer's market where I get a premium price for it. But pick your own nuts for chestnuts, that is definitely an option. So there is a lot of labor in harvesting things. If you can get rid of some of that labor, it's a definite bonus.
Yeah, I believe the Route 9 also does pick your own.
The co-op?
Yeah. But it doesn't last long. It's just 2 days.
What does a pound of shelled walnuts go for, and say a pound in the shell?
In the shell,
Yeah.
I haven't sold any in the shell. I think Joe Heater and Joe Coleman sell some in shell, $1 to $2 a pound in shell for the select cultivars that shell out pretty easy. I think is what they're selling for.
How about out of the shell, already cracked?
If I've cracked them out at the farmers markets, I sell a ½ pound for 10 bucks, 20 bucks a pound. I don't think Hammond's is quite that high selling them in the store.
Their walnuts are not that good. There's a lot of black ones in there. I bought some of their nuts already. They don't taste that good.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
I was just going to make a statement that our farmers market, they actually encourage the lower income people. They got a, what's it, EBT or whatever it is. And for every dollar they give them back $2 to go spend at the market. So they're trying to draw in the.
Yeah, the USDA is really encouraging places to try to draw the low-income shoppers. And they've got programs where the produce perks, where they'll give you 1 token for your regular food stamps. You can buy $20 or $25 worth of tokens off your card. And then they will give you another 20 or 25 and another token that can only be used for fresh fruits or vegetables. The problem is low-income shoppers don't go to farmers markets very much. Even trying to do that, they want the cheap stuff. They want pizza rolls that they can stick in the microwave and cook. A lot of your low-income people tend to be lower IQ. And when you get the lower IQ people, they want the pre-made food. They don't want to have to read directions on how to make things. Now, the farmers market I do in Columbus, the city of Columbus did a thing. If you had a kid in public school, when the pandemic hit, you got a food stamp card. It's the parents' EBT card, and they get money put on it, no matter what your income. So we would have higher income parents coming there every week using that food stamp money. But even when the markets draw in the lower income shoppers, they still don't buy very much. Because, you know, they're going for cheap stuff, not the higher quality produce. It's still less than 5% of your sales. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any bulk markets in your area?
Bulk markets?
Yeah, the Amish or Mennonite bulk markets?
I know there's a produce auction down by
No,
Fredericktown.
I'm talking about the bulk stores.
Bulk food stores?
Your baking goods and stuff.
I know in Newark, there's Ashery Farms, I think, has bulk foods.
Yeah,
I don't know of a whole lot. There's a lot of Amish in my area. I don't know how many bulk food stores there are.
because I would think for the farmer's market, that might be the biggest competition if you have those in your area. They kind of set the price. Yeah.
I can tell you on farmers markets, you need 700 people in the local population to support every vendor. If you want to sell at a farmer's market, if you've got a small town, don't waste your time on it. Go to the big city, find the biggest market with the most affluent customers. I've done small markets before, you don't make any money. Go for the ones where you'll make the most money at. Go for the big ones.
Which one are you at in Columbus?
I'm at the Clintonville Farmers Market.
Yes.
Clintonville and Worthington are your two big markets in Columbus for farmers markets.
Is that 700 households or 700 people?
700 population people
I
for,
would think households. but
for
I don't
every,
know.
I don't know, the research I saw just said 700 population to support every vendor. So if you've got 7,000 people in your town, you can support 10 vendors. But if you only have 10 vendors, there isn't enough different diversity of different products, people won't come to it. If there's no other question, I'll turn it back to, okay, John's coming.
On the markets, there's some markets that go during the week. Do you find any advantage there? Or because you're not competing with all the markets on the weekend? Or
The customers aren't out there on the week.
what?
The customers aren't shopping during the week very much. Your Saturday morning market is going to be the best one of the week. If there's no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Ron.
Hold on, I gotta aim this at Ron.
No, no, I'm good. You just turn that thing off.